I'm Tim McNulty from Carnegie Mellon University. I have to tell you, I thought I had pretty much figured that seeing the 3D printed car would be worth the trip alone, but just the inspiration from that last session on hacking healthcare is incredible. And I think that the real product you get from Maker Fairs is optimism about the future, and that's a priceless product. Travis asked me to do two things today. He asked me to talk a little bit about the Maker Revolution on college campuses and community colleges. And I had a small role this spring in helping with colleagues around the country bring together 153 universities who made a common commitment to advance Maker activities as part of the President's National Maker Fair. So that gave me a window on these activities around the campuses, much as Travis just gave you a window on the activities of the mayors. And then secondly, I wanted to share some ideas I've gotten from talking to faculty, and both at my college, my university, and at campuses around the country, of ways that you can harness and leverage and be a part of that campus revolution. So first, let me start with just a little bit, giving you a little bit of the parameters of this amazing Maker movement that has come to campuses. In just the 3-month window that we were working on the Maker Letter, the joint Maker Letter of the institutions, universities and community colleges and art institutes made commitments to launch and open over 100,000 square feet of new makerspace, representing millions of dollars of investment in facilities and equipment and programs. In addition to that, there was reference to the MIT with expanding using the Maker portfolio and admissions. Since the spring, there's been a steady increase in the number of institutions doing that as well. And at the University of Iowa, you can apply for scholarships in their College of Engineering using a Maker portfolio. And nothing reflects the change in the DNA of an institution than changes in its admission process. So in addition to just all that dramatic new expansion of space, when institutions start adapting their admissions process, that's a signal that you've got something that is fundamentally changing the institution. And I think one other indicator of this revolution on higher education institutions, there's been an explosion in the last 6 months of new curricula, new degree programs, new minors. Just in my own institution, Carnegie Mellon, introducing 8 new minors that relate to making all across the disciplines. So the Maker activities that used to be maybe a club sport in engineering are now spread out across the entire campus and engaging majors from the arts to computer science to music and of course engineering and business. So what's driving this revolution? I think there are a number of factors. First, as I like to say, cognitive neuroscience has caught up to Dale. So basically, the essence of cognitive neuroscience and the science of learning is that we all fundamentally learn one way as we learn by doing. And so Maker activities and the embodiment of Maker initiatives within curricula is definitely here to stay. The second thing is I think it's probably always been true that the frontiers of discovery are at the intersections of disciplines, but it's especially true now. And what's a better context setter for research and education at interdisciplinary areas, at the fusion point of disciplines, than Maker activities, which bring together artists and engineers and computer scientists and so forth. So again, the Maker movement on campus is creating a context for the very fundamental elements of research and education. And third, I give enormous credit to the president by using what is the least appreciated tool of the president, I think, in these days, which is the power of convening. Stephanie is here from the White House. I mean, how cool is it that there is somebody in the White House every day who gets up thinking about Maker activities and Maker initiatives? I mean, that is amazing. It says a lot about this administration and this president. Most fundamentally, it says a lot about you, obviously, because you've made that all possible. So we've got this tremendous explosion of Maker activities on college campuses. How do you take advantage of it? One obvious baseline activity is that these new Maker spaces should be your spaces. They should be open to the community. I don't have a scientific sample, but my hunch, my gut feeling is about 30% of colleges and universities right now have designed makerspaces on their campuses that are also open to the community. For example, University of Massachusetts at Amherst has a makerspace that they specifically built to be both for their students and the community. James Madison just converted their spaces to be open to the community. And you have Arizona State, which decided to base their makerspace at Tech Shop in Arizona so that it would be shared with the community. I can tell you, we're all going to get there. I mean, eventually it's all going to get there. You have to give us a little bit of time, in essence. I mean, for a number of our institutions, we need to learn about our student demand. We need to learn about how students use this space and what the essence of the curricula is. But you already know, making is in essence a community activity, and so we're all going to get there. So that's one baseline. But as I talk to faculty about how we can come together as a maker movement and a university maker community, faculty stress to me that the starting point should really be about what we need from each other. And what university need from you is we need your ideas. We need your projects. Most importantly, we need your inspiration. We need you to give our students a sense of safety, that it's worth it. It's okay to try starting a company around something you've made, and to share everything that you've been through in terms of it's okay to fail. And here's how you work as a community. We really need that fundamental inspiration. What can you get from us? We're great at making tools, right? I mean, I think there's going to be an explosion of new tools coming out of this huge investment in maker activities on campuses, particularly at the intersection of the hardware and software, and at the intersection of digital making and physical making. And those tools should be yours to help develop, to refine, and most importantly, to use right away. So what, in addition to shared space, are a couple of concrete steps that we can take? I got a number of ideas. I'll share a couple with you from the folks I talked to. The first is there's this great trend developing in having makers in residence, where colleges will create either permanent or part-time opportunities for makers to come in and simply be on the campus and be around the campus and share their experiences and maybe co-teach and maybe do some mentoring. And that, I think, is a fundamental great way for our communities to come together, and because it will reinforce what we need from each other and what we can bring to each other. And a second idea just to take away is I think there's one place that we can naturally, readily meet, and that's in the schools and the libraries where you're already partnering, you're already doing maker activities, and universities are seriously committed to using maker initiatives as a way to build our STEM pipeline and to build our pipeline into schools and the libraries. And my institution, Carnegie Mellon, has done a number of things with the Children's Museum and with the public libraries. I think that space, the K-12 space, is where we can also get to know each other, because I think it's going to be a major commitment of our institutions, and you've already been a major force in bringing maker activities to citizens and kids through the roles you play in those institutions. Let me end on just one note. I think, from my own vantage point, I don't think there's any bigger, more important challenge for the country than to reinvent higher education, to make it more accessible, to make it connected to communities, to ensure that it is a driver for innovation for the next 50 years, as it's been for the last 50 years. I don't just think that maker activities are going to be an element of that reinvention. The more I see on my campus and this little portal I've had on what's going around the country, I think the maker movement is in essence a fundamental driver of that transformation. And in many ways, the biggest contribution you can make is to keep doing what you're doing in building a movement that we're responding to and that's attracting our students to want to be part of it as well. Thanks a lot.